Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Euro Roundup where you pick our winners and losers from the game week just past. And I'm Borussia Mönchengladbach, glad that you're back from Japan. Doesn't really work because this is the second episode in which you've been back.
But it was worth it.
It was worth it. This comes from Folds Ashley. Why are the Germans leading off this show?
Well, they had a big match this weekend against Bayern Munich, and in the end, they came out on top thanks to an injury time winner, retaining their place at the top of the Bundesliga. Now, obviously, Bayern have won the title for the past 7 years, but they're now in 7th place and 7 points behind Gladbach. Despite going ahead through Ivan Perisic, he got the ball chipped to him by Thomas Müller on the edge of the box, spun, put in a pretty decent shot given that he was on the spin, but Jan Sommer should have saved it, but he just kind of palmed it into his own goal. That was in the 49th minute, and Bayern had been utterly dominant up until then, but Gladbach roared back into it. Rami Ben-Sebaini levelled the scores up 10 minutes later, powerful header from a corner, and then ended up getting the winner with a 91st minute penalty. Javi Martinez was sent off, second yellow card for a horrible tackle on Marcus Thuram, who was running free into the box. And now they've got a decent shot at their first title since 1977, currently a point ahead of RB Leipzig, who beat Hoffenheim 3-1 at the weekend. Bayern, on the other hand, they're not in free fall, but they are in a little bit of trouble. They've lost 2 league games in a row under interim boss Hansi Flick, and they've often struggled against Gladbach in the past. It's not the team they want to be chasing. They've now lost 20 Bundesliga games at Borussia Park, taking 1.1 points a game overall. That's their worst record at a stadium in the league.
Oh, wow.
Bogey team.
Talking of wow, I like you in mustard. This very rarely happens.
Cheers.
New jumper?
Yeah.
I didn't ask you how your weekend was as well at the start because I was making puns. So how was your weekend? The people would like to know.
It was good. I can't remember what I did on Saturday now, but it was good. How about yours?
I work Football Social, so it just seems like, time just has just intertwined. I'm like Matthew McConaughey on Interstellar. I don't know where I am.
Time with Smithy just passes like that, doesn't it?
He wasn't even there.
Oh.
I'm sure he was there at Sky
Sad
somewhere,
oosh.
but sad oosh indeed. Let's get back to the game because the hosts were a little bit fortunate, to win this game. Only 38% possession and 7 shots. That is not a lot. Hitting the target just 3 times. The visitors, on the other hand, had 16 efforts with 7 on target. I mean, Bayern are always going to outshoot you. It's just about limiting them to low quality chances, right? Sure. But in this game, that's not necessarily how it panned out because Bayern did have a superior expected goals of 1.7 to Gladbach's 1.3. But if you can keep Bayern around the 1.5 mark, you've always got a chance, I suppose, if you've got the firepower that Gladbach have. In fact, if you take away the penalty, the home side had an expected value of just 0.6 though. But let's not take anything away from the performance because it's making the Bundesliga competitive. This is what we like to see as bloody neutrals, isn't it? Marcus Thuram, particularly impressive as he has been in the opening 14 match weeks, 14 to 15. Can't remember when we are now. And the Bayern defenders just couldn't cope with his pace, of course. He is their fastest player. I think he clocked in at, he's top 5 in the Bundesliga in terms of speed with the ball. As well as winning the penalty, he managed 6 touches in the opposition's box, which is a team high, and 9 dribbles. 9 dribbles. Sick. Wow, which was unsurprisingly a game high. Left back Bonsi Bayani was also superb with 3 shots, 2 goals, and 7 interceptions. Superb.
7 interceptions.
Superb's probably underselling that somewhat as well. He was an absolute game changer. As for Bayern, Thomas Müller, he made his 332nd league appearance, now 10th on the club's all-time appearance list. He was lively throughout. He's come back into the side under Hansi Flick, right? He's been one of the biggest changes under the interim manager. And he was okay, I guess. 2 shots, 1 assist, 5 key passes. He does look much more comfortable as a creator than as someone who's expected to score more than 5 goals in a season at the moment. 9 touches in the opposition's box, only bettered by Kingsley Coman's 11 for the Bavarians. But the visitors did look vulnerable at the back, which is weird because under Kovac, it was kind of the other way round, right? Their underlying numbers, at least, were very sound defensively, but not so much here. Boateng was dribbled past 3 times and yellow carded before getting injured. Kel Surprise in the second half, but his replacement Martinez struggled even more so, like Pat touched upon, conceding that penalty and eventually giving his marching orders. they'll need to pick themselves up, won't they, Bayern? Because they are languishing around, what, 6th, 7th now? I should know that, seeing as we're doing a section on them. Please forgive me. While Gladbach are playing Wolfsburg at home. Sorry, Bayern have Werder Bremen, if I didn't mention that. So we actually might have a title race on, but it might not be, Bayern that is involved. It might be RB Leipzig and Gladbach. Wouldn't that be exciting? Do you guys think they're going to be able to sustain this sort of form? Are Bayern going to be in the doldrums for much longer? Let us know in the comments below. The Lionel Messi winners section is coming. Hold your horses. We know it's the title, but on to our losers for the time being.
Just before we get into our next section, make sure that if you weren't already, you are now subscribed to the channel. Drop us a like and a comment below and hit the notification bell to never miss a video. But we move on to our first losers, and it's Juventus, comes courtesy of @Jamalera. What happened to Juve this weekend?
I feel like messing this section up, so you have to do that subscriber reminder again.
Not going to do it.
Which you love to do them. Okay, let's not do it then. Maurizio Sarri lost for the first time this season as Juve boss, as his side were beaten 3-1 away at Lazio, with Cristiano Ronaldo's strike cancelled out by efforts from Luis Felipe, Milinkovic-Savic, and in the final minutes, Felipe Caicedo. How am I saying that? Caicedo, that's exactly what I said. Don't know what you're talking about. Up until this game, the old lady had played 19 games, winning 16, drawing 3. I mean, I think 12 of those games were secured by a margin of 1 goal, sorry. So it's been a little bit attritional, more so than people thought at the start of the season when Sarri took over and he was supposed to bring in this new attacking philosophy, wasn't he? But Juve have kind of reverted to type. Although many will point to Juan Cuadrado's 69th minute red card as a pretty seminal moment in the game. Initially, it was given as a yellow before that VAR check. He side down Manuel Lazzari, didn't he, when he was through on goal. Pretty key moment there. But in truth, Lazio were on top up until then, so Juve can have no excuses. They had 12 shots to Juve's 6 prior to that incident and added a further 6 to the Bianconeri's 3 after it. So they managed to get 9 of their efforts on target to Juve's 4, and XG supports the shot numbers too, rating it 2.3 to 1.5 in Simone Inzaghi's side's favour. Despite just being 2 points off Inter, they're actually 6 goals to the good at this stage last season and conceded 7 fewer, and had conceded 7 fewer as well, I should say, along with 7 more points. So is this progress? I'm not quite sure at the moment. Sarri has a lot of work to do. It's not looking like a Sarri team as of yet, is it? Lazio, by contrast, bloody flying, aren't they?
Yeah, 36 goals in 15 games now. That's only topped by 6 sides around Europe so far this season. And Immobile had a penalty saved by Szczesny in this game, so it could have been even worse for the Bianconeri. Lazio have won 10 of their opening 15 games, including 7 in a row now, scoring 20 goals in that run. Pretty impressive stuff. Now, they've scored 14 more goals than they had at this stage last year. They've conceded 3 fewer, and they sit 2 places higher, up in 3rd. That's 3 points off Juve in 2nd. And I think for Lazio, everybody's just in fantastic form, whereas for Juve, a couple of guys are not quite at it. I mean, Ronaldo, 34-year-old, created 1 chance, had 2 shots. His average so far this season has been 5.9, and for the last several years it's been around that mark, so that's slightly troubling. Whereas Milinkovic-Savic has really taken a step up this year. He's doing much more midfield stuff while still maintaining his final third influence, like kind of Dele Alli type play, I think. So 6 tackles and interceptions in this match, 3 dribbles, 2 key passes, 1 shot, 1 goal. He's now got 3 goals and 4 assists in 15 league games this season. So a really, really impressive season from him so far. But man of the match was probably Luis Alberto. 3 tackles and interceptions, pretty decent for a guy who is essentially a creative forward playing deeper. 1 dribble, 2 shots, 3 key passes, and 2 assists. He's now got 2 goals and 11 assists in 15 games this season. No one has provided more assists in Europe. The next person, De Bruyne and Müller, both with 9. Absolutely incredible. I mean, Lazio, the way that Lazio can turn a bunch of guys who other teams undervalued into a side which is at the very least competitive for a Champions League place is truly remarkable. Simone Inzaghi deserves a lot of credit.
He's going to get snapped up by a big club, surely.
But I feel like we've said that for 3 or 4 years, and it feels like nobody's ever quite... I mean, the problem with Lazio is we're talking about how many goals they score, but often you will tune into a Lazio game, especially a big game, and they will just shut up shop and it will be very boring. But they can do both things, and I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, they've got a 40-goal-a-season striker at the moment in Ciro Immobile, so they have to try pretty hard, don't they, to be a boring side. And the likes of Correa, I think he could be due a big money move soon if he sustains this sort of form as well. Where do you think their aspirations should lie? What's a good season for Lazio?
Fourth. Like, I think third. I think third's beyond them. They're not as good as Atalanta or Inter or Juve. I think they're slightly overperforming right now. But given how good Roma are looking this season, I think that fourth would be great for them and get some money back in. And then maybe if you add that extra 1 or 2 parts, even if you just get into the Champions League this year and it gives you the money and the clout to go out and get your Immobile replacement, that would be great. And next up, they've got 4th place Cagliari, so they can lay down another marker there, whereas Juve try to get back to winning ways with a match against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League on Wednesday, having already qualified for the next round.
Our final winner then, and no doubt the reason you came to Euro Football Daily today, it's Leo Messi. This comes from Ungonch W. There's no stopping the wee man.
Yeah, Barcelona are top of the league. Hooray, hooray. Though at least it's only by goal difference this time. There are 2 goals to the good overall following the 5-2 victory over Mallorca, in which Messi got a hat-trick. This obviously comes after he picked up a record 6th Ballon d'Or presented by his kids before the game.
That's sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, his kid who's like an unbelievable talker. Which is his kid who hates Barcelona?
I think it's the youngest one, who turns out in like Real Madrid kits.
I love that
he's
kid.
A ledge.
He's great. Anyway, Messi's 4th hat-trick of the year. Not that impressive. Have you heard of Erling Haaland, mate? He's now surpassed Ronaldo for total La Liga hat-tricks with 35. Mental. He's the only player to score 10+ goals in the last 14 seasons in the top 5 leagues. And his first 2 of the match now mean Barcelona have scored the most goals from outside the box this season in the top 5 leagues with 10.
He has turned into a little bit of a, well, not a long-range merchant, but he likes picking it up from 20 yards, doesn't he, having that kind of curling effort with his left foot.
It's what happens when you have an incompetent manager. Anyway, aside from Messi's brilliance, the front 3 were all on song in this game. Griezmann opened the scoring within 8 minutes. The assist came from Ter Stegen. He's the only goalkeeper in the top 5 leagues to have 2 assists. That's such a that tells you so much about him. That's all you need to know what Ter Stegen is. And Suarez scored potentially the goal of the season in the middle of Messi's 3. In fact, he scored against every team he's played against in La Liga, Luis Suarez. So, for an old man who's 90% tooth enamel, it's pretty good.
It's pretty impressive trivia, isn't it? Did you see his back heel? It was a thing of absolute beauty.
I would never watch Barcelona.
And how can anyone accuse us of being pro-Barcelona when quite clearly he struggled through that section to really hide his hatred?
They're so boring,
Pat hates everyone in equal measure, so never accuse us.
Why do they buy Griezmann? They're so stupid. And Valverde, he's just such a bad manager. Like, we're having to watch... Have you seen what he makes? Like,
I've unleashed the beast.
Have you seen what he makes De Jong do? De Jong isn't allowed to dribble. Like, he lets Arthur dribble a bit, but that's good because that's literally the only thing Arthur can do. He can pass, he can dribble. He can't defend. Like, he can't run. Like, so it's just watching a team where everyone's like, it's like Big Sam turned up and he was just like, guys, I've got a great idea for how we can play. And he's turned to Messi and he's gone, throw-ins. Like, it's unreal. It's so boring.
Wow. Should I even carry on?
I suppose it is 5-2.
Shall I go back to the game?
Whatever.
I mean, despite what Pat's saying, and several of you may agree with it in the comments below, Barcelona did have 66% possession, 25 shots with 17 on target. The Mallorca's 9, 3 on target, and a 91% pass accuracy all round. So if they were being boring, they were being very competent at being boring. Although conceding 5.
They're playing a team who play in flip-flops.
Although conceding 5 goals, some Mallorca players did do okay, didn't they? Croatian striker Budimir. If I put an accent on it, I'll just hide my kind of, total ignorance to that player. Scored 2 goals from his only 2 shots of the game, taking his season tally to 5. Danny Rodriguez also been a fairly consistent performer for them, hasn't he? He had 3 shots on the day. That was a team high, 2 dribbles and 10 tackles and interceptions.
And they still conceded 5.
Bless him. Bless
him.
Poor
bloke.
Kuba as well. I mean, he wasn't very good in the game, but he was booed on his return to the Camp Nou as an 18-year-old who didn't make a competitive appearance for them. Obviously, it's because he's signed for Real Madrid. He's since been loaned to Mallorca. But come on, Barcelona fans, get a grip.
When will that ever happen?
I'm not sure, Patrick. Let's hope sooner rather than later. Back to the game, though. 34-year-old Manolo Reina, the Mallorca goalkeeper, although, you know, conceding 5 goals, made 14 saves within the game, which actually doesn't stack up in terms of 17 shots on target. So maybe, you know, he was having such a productive evening and he decided to save things that weren't going in. Who knows? But what a 90 minutes from him. He's made the second most saves in the league in total, with only Levante's Aitor Fernandez being more active in between the sticks. This loss does... Losh, but H on that. This loss does push Mallorca to just 1 point off the relegation zone, having only won once. I think that was a 3-1 victory versus Villarreal in their last 7 games. They now sit 17th, and they face Celta Vigo away next in the league. An important relegation 6-pointer with Celta just 1 point below them. Barcelona, of course, face Inter Milan tomorrow in the Champions League. Inter in dire need of all the points in order to qualify, aren't they? Have to bet up Borussia Dortmund's result. So let's see how that goes. But aside from that game, we're going to be covering another Champions League game. Liverpool versus Salzburg. Another 90 in which, you know, all the points are needed by both sides. So come and tune in for that. It'll probably be live from 5:45. Not really sorted it out, you know, all the granular details, but Total Football, you've been requesting it. We're delivering it. Tune in. Can we move on? Because I've been terrible at this section.
I'd love to. Our second and final losers of the week are Ajax. I guess they lost, do not know. This comes from @Lamad, the Brave. Oh, was he on the other one? Was he on Winners and Losers?
He was on Winners and Losers. Shout out Lamad, the Brave. We've tried this 3 times.
Christ.
Clean sweep for you, sir. Well done. Now, another team who suffered their first league defeat of the season, Pat, was Dutch giants Ajax. Of course, that's why they're in our losers section, who lost 2-0 at home to Eredivisie's surprise package this season, apparently. Can't help you contextualise that because I don't watch Willem 2. Yeah, Willem 2, by the way, did I mention that? A first half penalty from Mike Ndaishimi. Sorry, Mike. I'll be referring to you as Big Mike from now on. Was followed by a strike from former Ajax youth product Damil Danker Louis in the second half. Unsurprisingly, Ajax dominated Willem 2 in this game, taking 29 shots to 9, making 610 passes in the process, over double their opposition's 301. But despite having 68% possession, which we've come to expect from them, they only managed 6 shots on target, which, okay, is not too bad in general if we're going to talk about averages, but only 6 on target from 29. That says to me they were taking an awful lot of pot shots from distance. Hakim Ziyech can be a little bit guilty of that on occasion, can't he? Which was only 2 more, in fact, on target than Willem 2, who were clearly just more clinical and took the chances when they came. Now, while Ajax are still top of the league on 41 points, which is in fact 3 points more than second place AZ Alkmaar, defeat at home will come as a massive shock, won't it, to an Ajax side which hasn't been defeated, or hadn't even, at the Johan Cruyff Arena since November 2017.
Wow. Now,
for Willem 2, the victory keeps up their brilliant start to the season. Their 9th win, in fact, keeps them in 4th place on 29 points, just 2 points behind PSV. Now, they look on course for their best finish in the Eredivisie since 1999 when they came second. But of course, there's a lot of football left to play. If Willem 2 can sustain this sort of form, I'll be very, very surprised. What's your section all about?
Well, I think that Ajax will probably point to some absences, maybe for the lack of cutting edge in this game. Quincy Promes out injured, David Neres, Zakaria Labiad all missing. So they had to use Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, who's actually been great this season, and Noah Lang, who's one of their youth players. Now, Huntelaar, 36 years old now, 8 goals in 613 minutes of football this season.
Pretty handy.
Pretty good, one every 78 minutes. But it helps when you come off the bench for such a dominant side as Ajax. But in this game, he just couldn't really cope with the speed of the match, I guess.
Okay.
He got on the ball a reasonable amount, 21 touches in 79 minutes, but contributed 0 shots. While Willem's forward, Vangelis Pavlidis, touched the ball 64 times and took 3 shots. also won 7 of his aerial duels and both his attempted tackles.
Yeah.
So was really working hard, and that's kind of what you got to do when you're playing against the side that's going to dominate you in the way that Ajax were.
Yeah, I mean, if they had 68% possession and Huntelaar only touched the ball 21 times, then it would suggest that a lot of that possession was probably meaningless.
Yeah, good observation.
So just trying to bring around a bit of, make it more well-rounded, you know.
Yeah, Lisandro Martinez also had a bad game. 81% pass act, the worst of any of Ajax's midfielders. Was dispossessed 4 times. No player on the pitch lost the ball more. That is a lot of times to lose the ball. And Willem's keeper, Timon Wellenreuter, also deserves a huge amount of credit. Schalke youth product.
Don't talk to me now.
He is. Saved all 6 shots on target against a team who'd scored 52 from 16 games. Most potent attack in the Eredivisie. So well done to him. Well done to Willem II. You know, try and make the Eredivisie exciting, but you will probably fail. Let's move on.
Our star of the week is Joaquin, and this comes from Barry. So, what a juxtaposition there.
Baz.
Well, what did he do? Because he's really old, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the Real Betis captain. He became the oldest hat-trick scorer in Europe's top 5 leagues at 38 years and 140 days after scoring all 3 of Betis' goals in their 3-2 victory over Athletic de Bilbao on Sunday. It's actually his first career hat-trick in his 533rd Spanish top-flight game in his 20th professional season. What a wait. Anyway, saw him overtake Di Stefano's 55-year-old record for the oldest hat-trick scorer in La Liga and Claudio Pizarro's previous European record. And his 90 minutes overall, very impressive. 1 interception, 3 dribbles, 2 key passes, 6 shots, 3 goals. Imagine getting dribbled past by a 38-year-old. What a disgrace that is.
Yeah, was that person on the floor? Who knows? Real Betis are so active on Insta as well. I love the little speeches that Joaquin does. So I'm for one happy to see him included in this section. Absolutely crucial win for his side as well. They've now won 3 games in a row and 4 of the last 6 after a really poor start, taking them to 18th before this run to 11th now. That's more like it, isn't it? 4 points off 8th place Valencia. So they are clawing their way back into the top half of the table, or, you know, shall soon do that. The manner of the victory was still somewhat surprising, though. Going into this game, Bilbao had only conceded 9 goals in 15 league games, with the likes of Yeri Alvarez really marshalling forwards in their back line. But they were outplayed here. Betis had just 10 shots to their 8 and 6 on target to their 6. XG putting it at 1.98 to 0.99 in Los Beticos' favour. But this game was all about the old boy, like Pat said. Joaquin now has 6 goals and 2 assists in 15 league games this season. Literally evergreen. 11 starts in the process as well. So a lot of minutes in there, not just fleeting cameos from the bench. He's operating at a 0.78 expected goals and assists per 90, the highest since Understat began collecting data. The highest for him.
That's great. Good for him. Well done.
What a positive way to end the show. And I've got to say, some of it's been a struggle.
Hasn't been vintage, I'd say.
Oh, maybe James should roll some outtakes after this. You got your foot on the table now.
It was just really hurting.
Oh, fair play. Or just getting out of bed, or
it's cold? I just think my knee's like knobblier than I realised.
I mean, if they're having 68% of the ball and Van Huntelaar is only touching the ball, what was it, 21 times?
Do you call him Van Huntelaar?
Oh, that's what it says on the script.
We haven't all got Vans, you racist motherfucker. Why is it?
Yeah, Class Huntelaar.
In the
I know,
scene?
yeah.
Let's go.
Like Luigi's Mansion.
All right, well, thanks for watching this or tuning in before you clicked away in presumably the second section. If you are still here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. As I said before, drop us a like if you feel like doing that for some weird reason, and we'll see you next time. Obviously, actually, check out the Stat Wars, the league finale, which went live at the weekend, as I recall. It was a real humdinger.
Who won?
Not going to say that.
Professional.